Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's good, Wizards fans, and welcome to the Locked On Wizards podcast. This is your host, Ed Oliver, the real Ed Oliver. You can follow us on Twitter at Locked On Wizards. You can follow me on Twitter at EDTOOOFLATT. Heineke. Just had to shout out the Washington football team, man. Big win today for the Washington football team. They pulled it out in a nail biter. The legend of Taylor Heineke continues. Won't make this about the Washington football team, but just got to shout out the local sports team. You guys already know what it is. Got my hat on if you guys are watching on YouTube, and the t-shirt repping the team. And I just want to appreciate you guys. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Make sure you subscribe on wherever you can get a podcast. Also, make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube and hit that notification bell. We are now on YouTube, so you guys can check us out on there. But yeah, today I just want to recap. I want to say, was it training camp day number 4 or was it number 5? Oh, they had practice on Sunday. They had an off day. The Wizards had an off day on Saturday. They had practice on Friday, and they practiced earlier today on Sunday. And some of the guys, they got to do whatever they wanted to do. You saw Kyle Kuzma walking his dog on Saturday, walking around DC, and then LeBron James commented on Kyle Kuzma's post saying DC is a great city and giving DC its props. So that was interesting to see. The guys enjoyed their off day and had an early practice today. And news and notes, of course, the preseason game is on Tuesday. I cannot wait. Let me look at the preseason schedule here real quick just to keep you guys in the know for the schedule and the TV schedule. So the game will be on NBA League Pass. It will not be on NBC Sports Washington. The game on Tuesday night versus the Houston Rockets at 8:00 p.m. Eastern time. We do play the Knicks on the 9th at 7 p.m. That will be on NBC Sports Washington. The preseason game against the Raptors on the 12th will be at 7 p.m. on NBC Sports Washington and also on NBA TV. So that will be nationally televised. And then against the Knicks, if you have that cable package for NBA TV. And then we play at the Knicks at 7:30 p.m. on NBC Sports Washington to conclude the preseason. And then the first game of the NBA season is against the Toronto Raptors for the Washington Wizards on October 20th. I want to say that's at 7 or 7:30. I'm not exactly sure. But what I do want to talk about today is Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl Harrell led a players-only team meeting. We've heard all the time. The Wizards have had a players-only meeting, I think, every year. And it's not out of the ordinary for a team to have it, but usually when there's a players-only meeting, usually it's not for good things. But this one is before the season starts, so I'm happy about that. And then also the Washington Wizards did offer Bradley Beal a contract extension that is on the table. Tommy Shepard did say he was going to offer that before the season started. And October 1st was the first day that he could offer. And then, like I said, Halloween is the deadline for Rui and is the deadline for the Washington Wizards to offer Rui the team option and Denny his 3rd-year option and Rui's 4th-year option. So, and then it's a big year coming up for Rui because, like I said, with Michael Porter Jr., guys who have been in the league one year more than Rui, they're signing max deals. So if Rui plays up to that caliber, then he could force the Wizards' hands to offer him a max contract. You look at Michael Porter Jr., Trae Young, Luka Doncic, Gilgeous-Alexander. All those guys are going into their 4th season. Rui's going into his 3rd season. So if Rui plays very, very well or makes that leap, then he could force Tommy to offer a maximum deal, something along those lines, and a max extension. So we'll see if Rui can meet those expectations. If he averages, I say, possibly 20 points or 18 points and 9 boards, then you might see Tommy Shepard next summer offering a maximum extension, just like what Michael Porter Jr. got. So we'll see about that. But let's talk about Bradley Beal, and then I possibly will get to 2 mailbag questions. I have so many questions to get to, so I'll try to get to that at the end. But let's talk about Bradley Beal and that extension. So the extension that's on the table, I've talked about it probably the last 3, and we're going to talk about it all year. This is going to be something that's going to be happening all year. I looked up the All-Star schedule, so the trade deadline is going to be huge for the Washington Wizards, as it is every year. You can say that for every team, but for the Wizards, it's always huge. It's like, are we gonna blow the team up, or are we gonna trade for somebody to get better? Every year, it's that same question for the Washington Wizards. So the reason why I say the trade deadline is important for Bradley Beal is because if we're not good by that time, then I think he's just going to possibly request a trade. Or if we are good by that time, he might possibly sign the extension. I don't think he's going to sign the extension anyway because he said it's no rush. He's taking his time with it. And then also, if you look at the details that the contract that he can sign when the summertime comes or when the season is over, you can bring out the Brinks truck for Bradley Beal. It's going to be a 5-year, $242 million contract that he can sign $48.4 million per year. So are you going to take is Bradley Beal, is he going to sign the extension for 4 years, $181 million, or take a contract for 5 years, $242 million? You do the math on that one. So I think it's going to be the latter, the second option for Bradley Beal. We'll see. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Is Bradley Beal worth that contract? I think he's a top 15 player in the league. Is he a number one guy on a championship team? That's yet to be answered. That's yet to be determined. I think guys like that, you have to be a championship caliber player. I think Bradley Beal definitely can contribute to a championship team. Being the number one guy, like I said, that's in question. Can he be a number 2 or number 3? I think 100%. He 110% he would be a number 2 or number 3 on a championship team for sure. 5 years, $242 million. That's a lot of money right there. I mean, and looking at the details of the contract, his contract, if he signs that 5-year max contract next summer or in the summer coming up, it would be in 2026, 2027, he would have a $55 million player option. In 2025, 2026, it would be $51 million. In 2024, 2025 would be $48 million. I mean, the TV deals are going to come in and everything like that. So the contract's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Everybody's contracts are going to be inflated and bigger and bigger and bigger. So, I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, which it is a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And Bradley Beal's all-NBA, third-team all-NBA all-star starter, was second in scoring, would have been first. Of course, Steph Curry came out of nowhere. I'm not going to say out of nowhere. Steph is Steph. Steph's just a bona fide scorer, but Bradley Beal's a bona fide scorer. He was a 25 points. He averaged 25 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds in the 2020 season. So he had a great year where he didn't make the All-NBA, and he's gotten better every year. He's improved with finishing around the rim. He's improved ball handling. He's improved in almost every aspect of his game. He brings something different to the table every year. Just has to improve defensively. But that's up to Tommy Shepard and Tommy Shepard wants to build around Bradley Beal. So 5 years, $242 million, man. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Bradley Beal has played his butt off. He's gotten better. Like I said, he's a guy that works, and he's a great person off of the court as well, in the community, in the NBA as well. You know, whatever you want to say about the vaccine or whatever, all that aside, he does great things for the community and for young guys, young men, and people in DC, in Maryland, the DMV area. It does a lot of community stuff. But we'll see. Time will tell. I mean, like I said, Spencer Dinwiddie, his goal is to get Bradley Beal to sign that super max deal. And for that to happen, the Washington Wizards had to play at a high level this year and show that they're capable of making a run in the playoffs, and that, long-term Bradley Beal can win in DC. So those are factors. And, we'll see what happens with that. It will be interesting to see how the season shakes out. But I do want to get to this Montrezl Harrell players only meeting, what I thought about that, and what we can take from it. But before we get to that, this episode is brought to you by Sleeper. In 2018, the fantasy sports experts at Sleeper realized that fantasy basketball was broken. Games were being won and lost based on whose players had more scheduled games that week. It made no sense and required very little strategy. So in 2020, Sleeper released a brand new way of playing fantasy basketball. It's called Game Pick, and it's only available on Sleeper. And Game Pick owners pick a single game per week for each starter to count towards their team's total score, ensuring an even number of games played between opponents. The days of losing because your opponent's players simply had more scheduled games to play in the week are over. In Game Picks, you pick one game per week for each player based on player matchups, home versus away, opponent's defensive ranking, pace of play, and more. All that adds up to more strategy and less busy work. Whether you prefer redraft, keeper, or dynasty, Game Picks has you covered. Sleeper cracked the fantasy basketball code if you play fantasy football. If you prefer building out a weekly strategy versus daily busy work, you're going to love Game Picks. Download the Sleeper app and start a league with your friends today. You will not be disappointed. Sleeper's one-of-a-kind Game Pick is the most strategic fantasy basketball experience in the industry. This episode is also brought to you by DirecTV Stream. I watched a lot of football today. You guys definitely should use DirecTV Stream. Does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. If watching sports highlights on your phone, and you got your neighbors, best friends log in for the good stuff, well, I want to tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before. so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. Compatible device. Required content varies by package. Thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. So let's get to the Montrezl Harrell players only meeting. Of course, we don't know what said because it's what was said because it's only players only meeting, but it shows a lot to me. It shows the maturity of Montrezl Harrell, and then also just talking about what else I'm going to talk about in the podcast. I don't know if I'm going to get to the mailbag questions because Davies Bertans had a press conference. I do want to get to that. Raul Neto had a press conference. Aaron Holiday. We might have to break it. I might have to talk about the press conference. Some of the press conferences in the next episode because I want to read and react to their quotes. I thought they said some pretty important things. Raul Neto has some important things to say. KCP, can't take his Caldwell Pope, also spoke to the media as well after the practice on Friday. So I do want to talk about what they said. I thought they said some important things. But to get back to the speech, man, this is important to me. Every time with the Wizards we hear players only meeting, it's usually bad. The Marcin Gortat, when John Wall, Marcin Gortat, we're not getting along. And then John Wall goes on TV and says Marcin Gortat has the most spoon-fed buckets ever. And then we get to the playoffs and we get ran out of town by the Raptors in a 4-2 series. Scotty Brooks, I think we had a players only meeting. Was it last year? Well, last year we had it with Russ. I don't think it was a players only meeting, but I think he was like, hey, I don't miss the playoffs. And then things did go well after that. But I think it's better that we're going to nip this in the bud and get this going. This is a new team with a lot of players, so they got to get the chemistry. They talk about this all the time in the pressers. Chemistry. You got 3 new Lakers. You got a new guy with Spencer Dinwiddie. You got a new guy with Aaron Holiday, Corey Kispert, a lot of new guys, a lot of new faces, a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving pieces. Montrezl Harrell stepping up and showing that he's a leader. I think he's a guy that definitely can have a strong season, especially with Thomas Bryant not being there to start the season. And Daniel Gafford, I love Daniel Gafford. I'm a Daniel Gafford fan, but there are games where he may be in foul trouble. There may be games where he, I hope the stamina thing is not a problem at all, but, there may be games where Montrezl Harrell has a hot hand where he's just unstoppable in the post. He's facing up, hitting the mid-range jumper, pump fake, getting to the basket, finishing strong between the legs, going at you and finishing strong. I think Montrezl Harrell is seriously capable. We know that he was 6th man of the year. And Montrezl Harrell, he put something on Instagram where he did not make the NBA top 100. He has a chip on his shoulder. He was very upset about that, the player rankings, So I think he's a guy that has a lot to prove. His Lakers season did not go the way that he wanted it to. He was on the bench in the playoffs. He was on the bench in the playoffs against the Clippers. He has a lot to prove in the NBA. He's a lot of doubters right now. There's people that say he struggles defensively, which he did against Nikola Jokic, but he's one of the older players on this team. This team is a lot of guys under 30. KCP talked about that. A lot of guys under the age of 30. He's one of the older guys at 28. But this players only meeting, it means a lot, in my opinion, being a Wizards fan, seeing the slow starts, even the good years with John Wall, where we had Death Row DC. We started out under 500 through the first 9 or 10 games, and then we turned it around the year with Nene and Gortat, where we had a nice little playoff run in the second round. I think it's imperative that we start quick. I think it's imperative that we start fast. Like I said, if Dinwiddie wants to prove and make Bill stay, we cannot come out the gate starting out 4-9, 4-10. 6-5 games below 500. It just can't happen, especially with what's unsettled new coach. We got to start fast. So I'm loving the players only meeting. KCP said that Bradley Beal gave an MLK, Martin Luther King type speech. And he said he never, ever saw this side of Bradley Beal. Kind of like when I keep bringing up John Wall in this episode, but when John Wall had the funny post-game press conference, it was like the post-game right after the game when they're still on the court. And the reporter interviews and John was like, I ain't never, ever seen you act like this before, talking about Bradley Beal. And Bradley Beal is locked in. He is emerging as that leader. He is the leader. He's the best player on this team by far. And he is supposed to be that leader. He's supposed to be the captain. If they put the C on the chest, Bradley Beal's supposed to have it. He's got to step up and be that vocal leader. He is more of a reserve guy. He's chill, but he's got to step up and be that leader. We can't see him sulking on the sideline anymore. When things are going wrong, everybody's looking at him to be a leader and step up, hit a shot, get a defensive stop. Everybody's looking at Bradley Beal right now. But this players only meeting, man, I hope they got everything off their chest. Everything's positive right now. We're still in that honeymoon phase with everybody. Of course, the new coach. But they have to know how to persevere when things go wrong, the highs and the lows and everything like that. I know I'm preaching right now, but this team, I think it could be a solid team. I think the ceiling is 6 and the floor is the 11th seed in the East. But I love this. I love this players only meeting. I think it's great that the guys are getting the camaraderie, going out to dinner already, getting to know each other and push each other's buttons and know what works and what doesn't. So Montrezl Harrell stepping up and being a leader. I think he's going to bring that energy, that chip on the shoulder, and that junkyard dog mentality that the Wizards have been missing for years and years. And they need it, man. They need it. And him stepping up and having this players only, for him to step up and hold one after practice like that, I love it. I love what I'm hearing. I love what I'm seeing from Montrezl Harrell. And the short clips that I saw where he got a tough rebound, he pushed Jay Huff, even though Jay Huff is a undrafted free agent, the guy that didn't get drafted out of Virginia. It's just showing that Montrezl Harrell's ready to dominate this year. He's ready to go out there and dominate. So I'm excited to see what Montrezl Harrell can do, and it shows a good sign, in my opinion. It shows a good sign. So I do want to. I think I'm going to react to some of the things that Wes Unseld Jr. said, and some of the things that KCP said and Raul Neto, and then we'll wrap up there. And then I'm going to try my best on Monday to get to the mailbag questions. If not tonight, because Davies talked, Aaron Holiday talked, a lot of guys had pressures, but it would be so much to get to. So before we do get to the presser from Wes and KCP, let's do Wes and KCP. This episode is brought to you by Built Bar. My favorite flavor is cookies and cream. Like I said, if you put them in the fridge or put them in the microwave, they taste really, really good. They got coconut flavor. They got cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie, salted caramel, double chocolate, strawberry, orange, and German chocolate. If you haven't tried all the flavors, you can get a mixed box where you'll get 2 of each of the 9 flavors. Not only are Built Bar flavors the best tasting, but they're healthy too. Check out the macros: 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180. Only 45 grams of sugar and only 45 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty, all healthy. Order today and get the grasshopper cookie or raspberry or whatever you like. Built Bar is the official protein bar of the U.S. track and field team. Go to Built.com and use promo code LOCK15. You'll get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right, so let's get to some things that I thought stood out from Wes Unseld Jr. So he did talk about the 80-20 defense, talked about flexibility within the defense as well. But one thing that really stood out let's get to Raul Neto. I'll say 1 or 2 quotes. I'm not going to read a whole bunch of quotes like I did before on Media Day and all the other days. I'm going to talk about KCP and Raul Neto. So Raul Neto, he said, I'm a point guard, but last year I played the 2, the 3, and sometimes even the 4 spot. So that was an interesting quote because last year we saw Raul, we saw Ish Smith out there at the same time, Bradley Beal, and also Russell Westbrook. So we had some really super small ball lineups. I really don't want to see that this year. That's why I want to see Kyle Kuzma start. That's why I want to see, of course, Rui start. I want to have his team be the exact opposite of what we did last year with the rotations. I want to see guys who are 6'9", 6'10", with long wingspans, just disrupting the passing lanes, running the floor, athletic, good lateral movement. Guys that can play above the rim, we were not an above the rim team last year, except for Russ and Brad and Daniel Gafford. Everybody else was mainly below the rim guys. Davis Bertans is a shooter below the rim. Raul Neto's 6 feet, so he's only going to do so much above the rim. Ish Smith, same thing, 6 feet. And Rui was above the rim here and there when he would get up and dunk on people. So I just want to see more athletic lineups and more guys that can move around, more guys with longer wingspans. So that's what I want to see. Raul Neto, on the work he's seen from Daniel Gafford put in this offseason, he said he's excited to see what Daniel Gafford can do for us. I'm excited for Daniel Gafford as well. Raul Neto said we're introducing a lot of new words and a lot of details. I think we have to build a foundation. Defense is most of it. Raul Neto said Aaron Holiday and Spencer Dinwiddie, they're both great point guards and very competitive. Raul Neto says, I feel great on the court. Raul was battling an injury towards the end of the year. He did miss some time last year and then came back, but he was pretty durable for the Washington Wizards last year. Also, he's, like I said before, he's talking about Wes Unseld Jr., he's introducing a lot of new words. and language for the Washington Wizards on play calling and defensively. Wes Unseld Jr. on how the defense is coming along. He says it's gotten better. I think the challenge is not only to continue to grow and retain some of these things, but to get more application. Also went on to say there's so much more to it than I thought. Wes Unseld Jr. answering a question about surprises on the job thus far. So there's a lot that goes into coaching, making that leap from assistant coach to head coach. There are different things that you have to account to, daily tasks that are different from being an assistant coach. Wes Unseld Jr. is learning. He's still a first-year head coach. Wes Unseld Jr. talks about the importance of these days in training camp. Don't want to look back and regret not getting in the work that they needed to get. And then talking about preseason games coming up, they're very important. Talking about the playing time and the rotation and whatnot. He did say that guys are the main group. So the main starters, Bradley Beal, Kuzma, Spencer Dinwiddie, Rui when he does come back, Gafford, Montrezl, all the top 10 guys on the roster, top 9 or whatever. He says you want everybody to get a look, but those guys will probably get about 26 to 28 minutes of play. The last 2 games are going to be basically your dress rehearsal games for the Washington Wizards in the preseason. He said, Coach Unseld says they'll probably treat the last 2 preseason games as more real. Wes Unseld Jr. also answered a question about Rui Hachimura. He said, when it's time, and there's no pressure on the return of Rui Hachimura. Wes Unseld Jr. also said it's satisfying to see some of the same messages being relayed to the team. So good news on that. Let's see if there's some more notes that I wrote on KCP on his press conference. He said he wants to be more of a vocal leader. He did talk about the Bradley Beal speech. Remember when Bradley Beal gave his speech to the AAU team, his Bradley Beal Elite speech that went viral. Just giving his AAU guys a real speech, just telling them how the NBA works, and you can't mess around, man, because they will waive you, they will pay you and waive you, they will pay and cut you. So KCP talked about Wes Unseld Jr. being chill, and he continues to teach a lot in practice. You can tell Wes is a chill guy. He's a laid back kind of guy. When he talks in the press conferences, I haven't seen him behind the scenes, of course. We got to see him in the games. If he's going to be yelling a lot and energetic, jumping around, we'll see. Can't wait to see how Wes is on the sidelines as a head coach. I'm interested to see that. Somebody did ask KCP, does age make a difference? What's in KCP? I'm paraphrasing here. He says all of them being together and building chemistry together. A lot of guys getting there early. They've been doing open gym a month before training camp started, and he made a joke, talking about the music that they play in the locker room. Nobody says turn the music off or anything like that. They're all under 30, and they all like the same music. Nobody's saying change the song. So that was pretty funny in the presser as well. Quick, I'll read 2 things from Aaron Holiday. Talks about how he wants to run a team, talking about his role on the team and facilitate the ball and be more of a point guard. Teammates call him a pest. Since he's a defensive guy, he is a pest. He's a scrappy guy that will pick up the ball full court defensively. He talks about playing on ball and off ball. He's comfortable playing off ball in Indiana. Talked about playing with Spencer Dinwiddie and Raul Neto in practice as well. All these guys got to compete. Playing with Bradley Beal as well. Wes Unseld Jr. also said that Bradley Beal has been playing as a primary ball handler in practice. And then I'll get to Davis really quickly here. He talked about he had a grade 2 calf sprain in the playoffs. I remember he did get injured in game 5 or game 4, the one game that we beat the Sixers in. And that affected him coming back and playing in the international games that he played in the summertime. It was a questionable decision for him to come back, but he did end up playing in the international games in the summertime. He said he's coming back in the training camp in better shape. Last year he came in fluffy. He came out of shape last year. Didn't get a lot of time to practice, but he's coming out of shape, and you could tell in those first 10 to 15 games he was off. He was not shooting the ball well. You could tell that he was fatigued, and you could tell that he was gassed. But he's going to come in. I think Davis is going to have a better year. He's going to be fighting for playing time and for minutes, but I think he's going to have a better year than what he did last year. I think he's going to take better shots. He shot some really deep threes last year, which he does a lot because he can space the floor, the Latvian laser. But I think he will be better this year shooting the ball. I think he'll, we see what he can do defensively, but I think shooting wise, he will be better this year. He says 95% of the team is in early and they leave late. Like I said, they've been doing open gym for a month before training camp even started, so the guys got familiar with each other and got chemistry going 5-on-5s and whatnot. And then he also said defensive communication was lacking last year. I think that was pretty obvious how bad we were defensively. He said not enough guys were talking on the defensive end last year, and it showed. So we'll see if Wes Unseld Jr. can help up with that. I think he definitely will be able to and get guys communicating. We just have better defenders on the roster. We have better shooters. Davi said we have more shooters on the roster as well, which I agree with. I think we improved in the shooting department. I think we definitely improved in the defensive depth department as well. And then a little quick nugget here, Kyle Kuzma could have worn number 0, but he's going to be wearing number 33 this year because of Gilbert Arenas. So I think we'll wrap up here. But I think we'll wrap up here. Let me see if I can get to the. I'll do one mailbag question. This is from the Secret Wes Unseld Jr. on Twitter. He says Thomas Bryant off the bench at 4. Why not? Better fit ultimately as a 4 than an undersized, poor defensive 5. Covered defensively by Gafford. Trez gives a solid front court with 2 4s and 5s. That's a lot of energy coming off the bench with Montrezl Harrell. With you, I like the thought, but I disagree. I don't want to see Thomas Bryant at the 4 because he doesn't have good lateral movement. He can't really move his feet defensively. I don't like him guarding stretch 4s. I don't even really like him guarding stretch 5s or even 5s that have post moves, to be honest with you. Thomas Bryant is a great offensive player. He can shoot the 3. He has a nice jump hook. He can finish around. He can finish above the rim. He has good post moves as well. But I don't like him at the 4. I do get what you're saying. Defensively, Daniel Gafford can help him and give us a solid front court. I do get that. But and then Thomas Bryant playing with Trez off the bench. That's 2 guys who are not good defenders, but they're good scorers. I don't want to see Thomas Bryant and Montrezl Harrell playing together. I don't think that's a good fit. I'd rather see Thomas Bryant as that stretch 5 that can score in the post as well. And then you have Rui at the 4 or Kyle Kuzma at the 4. Kyle Kuzma is a good defender. I think Rui is a good defender at the 4 too. So I'd rather see that. But I wouldn't have Thomas Bryant at the 4 and then Gaff at the 5 because I don't like Thomas Bryant defensively at that 4 spot, to be honest with you. But it's a good thought. I mean, you can try it out. I wish you could try it out in preseason. I really wish Thomas Bryant was healthy right now so they could try something like that out in preseason. But that's a good question, man. Shout out to the Secret Wes Unseld Jr. on Twitter. Make sure you guys give him a follow. But, we're going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you guys for listening. Hail to the Wizards. And I'll probably do a preview of the Rockets and Wizards preseason game tomorrow. We'll talk about that and then do training camp number 5 or number 6. I'll just read and react to some quotes from the Washington Wizards. So, all right, you guys, hail to the Wizards.